Well, thank you all for coming. And can you hear me all right at the back? I'm a bit raspy. So direct democracy. We've just had a depressing talk about, the over-control of the state and the super state that's beyond our state. And it's really broken down, you might say, the deep state, obviously, the military-industrial type complex, and then you've got the administrative state, which is this civil service type state. And they're a problem. But there's a way out of the hole, and I've been looking at this for many years. In fact, it was 1979 when Thatcher got elected, and I went to vote, and I was thinking, why are we voting for parties, What's this about parties when, if you know anything about your history from the Romans and the Greeks and all the rest of it, it's all about democracy, and the people had direct say on policies. Now, it might be a bit cumbersome, so someone else has done something differently. The Swiss went out and they developed a better system in 1848, and they incorporated the right to call referendums. So you could call referendums on important issues, constitutional issues. That's how they started. But they went beyond that, and they now have what are called initiatives, which allow them to call for votes of the people on important issues that they think need addressed. Now, do you think you'd like a right like that? If you think you'd like to be able to call the government to account, would you stick your hand up? There we go, you see. Now, not only that, they can call a referendum on any law coming out of their parliament, and also at local council level. So, if you've got enough people to back you with trying to stop this, it's 1% of the voters can stop a law. Well, they can get a referendum to stop the law. But you need 1% of people signing up, so many months, and then you can do that. Would you like to be able to stop some of the laws that we've had imposed on us? Stick your hand up, please. See, we've got direct democracy at work here. That's more than 1%, isn't it? You see, and then when you get the 1%, you then have the referendum, and it's just a first past the post referendum. And they get these 4 times a year. They get a bunch of papers come through, and they've got to read through, and it tells them what's coming up for the referendum then. 4 times a year. They've got the right to do this. So they're in control, which is why they've got the best education system on the planet. So this has been developed, And of course, this is exactly what the state does not want. This is exactly what's wrong with our state. As you've seen Andrew, how he's been dealt with by the state. Brave man stands up. One of the best guys who went on the commando course in his day, long ago, to serve our country, and he ends up being taken apart by the state because these people are almost completely corrupt. I myself am ex-military as well. I was in for 16 years in intelligence and some of those other jobs you'll know about because I kept volunteering as well. Because I believe in this country. Well, I did, But I realised, like I said in 79, there's something amiss. There's something wrong in the state of Denmark, We knew there's something wrong. Well, the Swiss had shown us the way, and I didn't know about that. But you see, they're very local. How they operate is locally. This is what they're interested in, is having control at local level. All the powers are devolved down as much as possible to the lowest level. You'll get your little communities that would probably think of them as a parish. Then they've got obviously what they call their cantons, which are their counties in our equivalent. And at each of these levels, they control the state as much as possible, and everything is pushed down to the bottom so that the people have direct control over as many of the items that you want control over as possible. So you are in charge. This has been trialled since 1848. It's nothing new. It's been trialled for a long time. It's been going exactly as long as communism, because that's when the Communist Manifesto was put out. So do you want to live, please? If you want to live in China or Switzerland, would you put your hands up for China, please? China or Switzerland? Oh, no, we got one here. We've got a little Marxist here with us, a Marxist-Leninist. So it's up to you. Who'd rather Switzerland? Thank you very much. There you go. If you like your skiing, you're away. And chocolate, you're all right. Yeah. Right, so the system is very straightforward. Have you been handing out the things then? They're all out. Have you all got those little leaflets? Okay, you see, Well, how long ago was it we had the first talk? The first Great Resist? How long ago was that now? 2 years ago, you know, it was hardly an idea that was heard about. You've now got people standing, okay, for election using direct democracy. Never happened before. There's a very good leaflet here produced by the lady down in Brighton. And in there, she sets out how you can run it locally. It's excellent. She's done a great job. So it's not just a little leaflet. You could use that as a ready reckoner whenever you want to put yourself forward to stand, because you then control things. And in fact, I've got a historic announcement to make as well today. Historic. You remember who you got that leaflet off, all right, Alan here? Because Alan is the first person in this country to be elected on direct democracy. That was what his programme was, as a town councillor in this country. So Alan has done that. So I'd just like to finish with what we're saying with Dave there, though. Dave Ellis. Right, as an intelligence guy, yes, the way out of this mess is us taking control. This is the whole point of localism. You know, it devolves right the way down, but local also means national, doesn't it, in terms of when you're looking at these supranational operations. So when you're talking about these issues that you've got with giving the armaments away or whatever else, well, the Swiss got their own armaments industry, but mainly they've got lots of other good industries that they've developed because they're in control. You know, they have the best education system on the planet. The best vocational system is included in that. So the people, about 35% go to college, and a lot more go to superb, schools, trade schools, whatever they are, and that's how they've got such high quality systems, such high quality industries, and they're just famous, you know, for all precision engineering, etc. Okay, the Swiss were a bunch of peasants in 1848 when they started this, all right? No great secondary school systems, but they voted for this and they've developed that system, not our corrupt politicians. The class of politicians who run this country are completely corrupted, completely neutered, and completely controlled. And I'm telling you that. I'm intelligence corps, I'm happy, well, was, 16 years of it. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to these issues. I've been addressing them. I've even written a book on it called One Vote Away, and you can listen to it for free. I don't need your money, don't worry. You can listen to it for free on the website for Direct Democracy, ddrightnow.com. And on there, you can listen, and you get my dulcet tones in chapter 1 and the last chapter, but the rest of it is all AI generated. So you have to make the best of that. Right. But as I say, localism is the way to go. Okay, but you've got to understand it's got to be national. And as Dave said, he's right about getting the MPs. So we've got our first councillor purely. We've got the Farmers Food and Freedom Party backing referendums as well. You have to take control through referendums on important issues. And all you've got to demand is that, say, if enough people, say 2% of the voters in your council ward or in the nation decide to put forward an idea, and if they can get signatures from that 2% of the voters, then you should be going forward with a referendum. First past the post, keep it simple, stupid. Don't get too fancy, because we can say it's been trialled since 1848. This is the point. And I think that I'll end on this before I go on to Alan. The greatest constitutional lawyer in our history is a guy called A.V. Dicey. I don't know if any of you know that name. Right. Victorian lawyer, famous. Gladstone was waving his book around in Parliament when he put out his introduction to the law of the Constitution. So this guy, he looks at them then, 1890s, and he goes, they're all crooks, aren't they? He realised. 1890s, and he came out backing the referendum. And he said, if you get the referendum, and then you try and get rid of it, there'll be a revolution. He understood the power because he'd seen it working already in Switzerland. And that's what we've got to do. Understand the power of referendums and you, the people, and doing this locally. So, on that note, I'll hand us over to our first powerful direct democracy advocate. Thank you very much. Alan Shipham.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome to our community. We've been doing these, as I said, for 2 years now, and I was one of the people sitting out there 2 years ago, so it can happen to you. Anyone who thinks democracy is voting for someone every 4 years, 5 years, isn't firing on all thrusters. Yeah, we've got to watch this from the ground, and we've got to manage it, because this is our country. This is our taxes that we're paying. So I have been banging the drum for direct democracy. I've spoken at a couple of events before, the brilliant thing is, because this is local, we can do it our own way in our own areas. So I've seen Georgia's plan. What I proposed on my leaflet in these last elections that we had, I was lucky we were having one in Northamptonshire where I live, is I won't make any promises about potholes and NHS and everything like that, because I couldn't do it anyway, not as a town councillor. But what I could do is say I will form a local residents association, which links in with Cassie speak with us before, and then from that local residents association, which is based on your electoral ward. This is the difference. In the past, it might have been a community of a few streets who had a particular roundabout they wanted sorting out, or things like that. If we base it on the electoral ward, then when we get results through direct democracy, has been said, we can take that then to the councillors and to the MP and say, this area here isn't happy about this. Or, you know, this area here is supporting you 100% with what you're saying right now. Because it works both ways. And then I can go into the council chamber now. Well, I fancy saying something like that. I can go in the council chamber, and when we're taking a vote on something, like, you know, a broadcast tower or whatever it is, something that's going on, we're going to learn a lot of things. There's these cameras, all these kind of things. We can go in there and we can say, I've tested the area on this survey, and 80% of the people said no, so I'm voting no. Yeah, it doesn't matter what I think. I can influence it. I can say, well, let's have a look at it. Remember the Leave referendum? You know, we had meetings, we had people in the street, people knocking on doors. We can communicate with other people and hear both sides of the argument. So, you know, if we're going to have a vote, we'll properly research it. Then we'll go in educated with the right answer, and then you can check how your councillors have been voting. We all wish, like, you know, we can vote for these political parties and they're going to make a change. No disrespect, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of success with this. But we've heard from Andrew Bridgen, you know, the kind of things that are going on. We've heard from Mark, all this, David, all the deviousness that's going on in the Parliament once they're elected. If an area, imagine we all live in the same area, the same community, and we don't want something, yeah, if we say no, it's not going to happen, because the minute the bulldozer pulls up, or they start erecting this tower, or convert a building for multiple occupancy, whatever it is, you know, the people have said no, it can't happen. So let's start resisting, as Neil said, on a local level, and then pretty soon they're going to say, well, you can't do it here, you can't do it in the next town, you can't do it in this county, yeah, and that's how we're going to make a difference. So, yeah, I got 1,040 votes in the election, which was really good for the area. And the turnout was so bad. What we need is to get people out and vote, you know, support us. So please, elections are coming next year. Wales will be a brilliant one. If we could get some direct democracy in there, that would be absolutely excellent.